Okay, so slope-intercept form. I'm going to give you the form, but we're really not going to be using it traditionally, I guess, as you would say. But in general, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Ultimately, this breaks down to m is your slope. And that's the same thing as rise over run. Okay? B, and you need to take the sign in front, B is going to be your y-intercept. Okay? So this is going to help us when we graph, especially when we have fractions, because I know how much y'all love fractions. Let's get down to a couple examples. Example number 1. Y equals 2/3 x plus 4. All right. The big thing here, actually, let's go back one little thing. Y equals is slope-intercept. So that's really what we're looking for, is that y equals, okay? So if it's in y equals, we're set to go. So go back to our example. It is in y equals. So if I go ahead and draw my coordinate plane, okay. So the first thing that you need to be able to take out is the constant. Remember, a constant is the number without a variable, without a letter. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and circle my constant. That's a positive 4. So I know my y-intercept is equal to a positive 4. Okay? Then the next number that I'm going to take out is this 2/3. Okay? So that's my slope, which is the same thing as rise over run, which in this instance is 2/3. So 2 over 3. I want you to write that out for every single example. Now we plot. We're going to plot our y-intercept first. So let's go ahead and make a note so we remember. Always plot your y-intercept first, then use your slope. Okay, so we go to the y-intercept first. So the y-intercept is a positive 4. So I go to the y-axis. This is my y-axis. I go to positive 4. So 1, 2, 3, positive 4. Make your dot nice and large and in charge. Then I use my slope, which is rise over run. So I put my pencil on the y-intercept that I just put on there. So now I do rise over run. I rise 2, I run 3. Now I go back to my y-intercept and I do the opposite. So if I went up 2, right 3, I need to go down 2, left 3, and connect your dots. Remember, all of these should be straight lines. All right, let's do another example. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. Okay, so the first thing I do is I'd go ahead and draw my axis or my coordinate plane. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to pluck out is my y-intercept, right, which is my constant. So it's a positive 3. Then I find my slope, which is the same thing as rise over run, and that's going to equal. Now, if you look at our example, it's negative 1/2. You're always going to put that negative up top. Let me say that again. You're always going to put that negative up top. So this is negative 1 over 2. Okay, so now I plot my y-intercept first. So I go to the y-axis and I go to positive 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I have my slope. Now, if I'm rising negative 1, that's the same thing as falling 1, right? Because I need to go negative. If I'm going to go negative, I go down. So I need to go down 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. And I connect. Okay. Also, here's a little story break real quick. Okay, so you can tell if slope, so we're just looking, let's go back to the beginning. We can tell if slope is positive or negative by the line, okay? So if we have a slope going upwards, it's going to be positive. So this is slope. If we have a negative slope, or if we have a downward slope, it's negative. And this is how I remember it. All right, so true story. I went to Lake Tahoe probably 3 years ago. And y'all all know I'm from Texas. And I don't really see much snow, at least in the part of Texas where I'm from, we don't see snow. So 3 years ago, we went to Lake Tahoe, and it was one of the first times that I actually, not seen so or whatever, but I actually got to get in it, get in that snow. So of course, you know, I was a little excited. So I was like, hey, let's go skiing. And my husband's like, okay. So we go skiing, and the whole way up the gondola ride, right? The whole way up, I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so pretty. I've never seen anything like this. Look at all the snow. It's majestic. And I was super excited and super happy and just really loving life. So here's me going up the gondola ride, and I'm like, yay, I made it. Yay. Well, that's a boy. Here. There. All right. So then so I was snowboarding. So then once we got started, my husband is from Connecticut, so he was just zooming down. Meanwhile, this is like my second time to ever even touch snow, and I fell every 5 seconds. I was literally the girl on the mountain that was up, down, up, down, up, down. So real quick, I got real negative. I was going downhill. My attitude was going downhill. It was rough. So I became negative. So in terms of math class, if I'm looking at this slope right here, I'm going up the gondola ride, therefore I have a positive slope, right? And our next example, I was going downhill, right? I have a negative slope. That's an easy way to check yourself to make sure you did it correctly. Let's do a couple more examples, and then you'll have your practice problems. This gets a little sneaky if you have something like this. 4x minus 1. Go ahead and draw your coordinate plane. All right. My first thing I always pluck out is the y-intercept, which is a -1. Be careful, take the sign in front. Then I take my slope, which is rise over run, which this time is just 4. So I need to make that a fraction because slope is a fraction. And I'm like, what? 4 over, what can I put 4 over to where it still stays 1? Or 1, where it still stays 4? It's 1, right? Because 4 divided by 1 is 4. So if it's not a fraction, if it's just a whole number or an integer, then you need to put it over 1. Now I can go ahead and plot. I go to my y-intercept first. So I go to the y-axis and I go to -1. Now I have slope is 4 over 1, rise over run. So 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Then I do its opposite. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Connect my dots. Once again, I'm going to check. I'm going up the mountain, so I should have a really good attitude. And sure enough, this is a positive slope. So I'm good to go. Let's do one more. Y equals -3x minus 5. Last one, and then we'll do practice problems. Okay, so my y-intercept is equal to -5. My slope is rise over run, which is a -3. So I need to put that over 1. And now I start plotting. I go to the y-axis and I go to -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, down 5. So there's my first point. Now I do slope. Remember, if it's a -3, I fall 3. 1, 2, 3 over 1. And then I do its opposite. 1, 2, 3, left 1. Connect my dots. And then remember, the last thing I check is I'm going downhill, so I'm falling every 5 seconds, and I have a negative attitude, therefore I have a negative slope. So good. All right, here are your practice problems. I just want you to graph all of them, okay? So number 1, y equals 3/4 x plus 2. 2, y equals -2/5 x minus 1. 3, y equals 2x minus 4. And number 4, y equals -3x plus 5. There we go. All right, have those ready for tomorrow.